Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Two Chicks, Three Seats. So it seems like a lot of our customers have been super busy getting back into the swing of fully reopening for planning private events and marketing new creative packages at their venues. This is amazing news, and we are so happy for all of them. But that being said, we're thinking that maybe there have been some interesting hospitality-related news stories that busy event professionals, like all of you listening, have not been able to read lately because you've had way too much to do, which is amazing. So for today's episode, we are going to chat about what noteworthy news has been transpiring in the hospitality industry and what it means for restaurants and venues and hotels and everyone.
And all of us.
And everything, yeah.
And everyone, everywhere.
Everywhere.
So the first article we're going to dive into is an Eater article titled "Vaccinated Diners Can Go Maskless When Seated Outside, Says CDC." So earlier this week, the CDC updated its guidance on socializing and safety engaging in other areas just in general, but then also specifically for restaurants and some best practices that they can follow. So the new guidelines state that if you've been fully vaccinated, then the CDC has deemed it to be safe for you to dine at an outdoor restaurant with friends from multiple households without wearing a mask. So according to these updates, scientifically, the vaccines are good enough that it's highly unlikely that someone who's been vaccinated is going to be exposed enough to the virus outside to have an outbreak of the virus and get infected. The most recent best practices before this at restaurants was that diners were technically supposed to pull up the masks back over their mouth or nose in between eating and drinking.
I'm sorry, it's crazy.
Which I know. Okay, so I know that's why this article is interesting, because it's showing that the CDC is saying that it's okay now to be eating outdoors without a mask with people that you don't live with. But in reality, the article is saying realistically, this has already been happening everywhere. Yeah. Now the CDC is kind of just saying it's okay and it's considered safe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like it hasn't been, maybe some restaurants have been enforcing that, like, keep the mask, pull it up, pull it down. Personally, I feel like I hadn't been seeing that as much. I don't know about you.
No.
I feel like when that first rule came out, everyone was like, is this really going to happen? Is this really?
Yeah, like, no one, like, you can't enforce it either. Right. If a waitress or like a server came up to you and was like, you need to pull your mask back up, I'd be like, well, I just put my drink down, so give me a second.
Exactly.
You know,
like for all you know, I'm literally sipping on my water or my tequila soda for like the entirety of me sitting there. So.
Yes. Get me another one. No, I'm kidding.
Before this one runs out, so I don't have to
I can just keep going. It's so true.
No, but that rule just it seemed a little extreme. I know obviously like where it was coming from, but for like the reality of eating at a restaurant, it's a little more challenging to tell people to put the mask on after you take a bite of that meal. I think everyone had kind of been in agreement that you wear a mask when you're walking to like the bathroom in the public spaces. But now at least the CDC is saying that whatever everyone had been doing before is okay.
It's okay now.
Yeah, it's okay now. Like, we know you've been doing that, but now we're just telling you it's fine.
It's okay now. Yeah.
But I mean, the CDC does say that going out to eat, like, I feel like this is just what they have to say. Going out to eat, even outdoors when you're not vaccinated, could still pose a risk of getting COVID if you haven't got it, or if you have got it, I guess you can get it again. Masks are still suggested for indoor dining if you're not vaccinated, as it is considered least safe. They're using all these terms, least safe. And then if you are vaccinated and you're eating indoors, then it is considered safe. So basically, the moral of all of this is that get your vaccine and you won't have to worry about all these little rules because then you're just safe. So
then you're safe, but you could still carry it. So you got to be careful by not getting anyone else infected.
Right. I mean, it's literally these different.
But hopefully everyone's vaccinated.
Right. I mean, we're we're not going to put our opinions on anyone, but we kind of are. But I mean, so hopefully in terms of how this happens for restaurants, if people are getting vaccinated, then hopefully restaurant staff will feel more safe now that if they're hopefully able to get their vaccine, and then them working knowing that the general public is now getting vaccinated quickly. That's a good thing for them. I mean, restaurants have had to deal with like the whole masks and just what life is like now as a server or anyone at the restaurant. But now hopefully with the vaccines coming, it's not going to be as much of a struggle anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, yeah, I feel like them saying this is just, it's good news because it's a step in the right direction. So at least, you know, even if we haven't been following the rules, like we were, the CDC thought we should, at least them saying this now is like a step forward.
Yeah.
Now the only people who are like, you know, who are in trouble are the children. So but they weren't really apt to get it. And if they did get it, it wasn't that bad. So anyways, I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a doctor. So all I know is that like my kids, yeah. I mean, my son wears a mask because he's 6, but Maisie's never put a mask on in her life because she's 2. I mean, I'm not going to put a mask on a 2-year-old. But also like if she drops like a piece of food on the floor at Target and then is like crying because she wants to eat it again, I pick it up and give it back to her. I'm like asked me that a year ago, and A, I wouldn't have brought her into Target because God forbid she gets exposed to anything, and B, I would have been like, oh my God, no, that's awful. I'm like, and now I'm just like, here, take it.
We're past what we used to
I'm like
in March of 2020. We've come a long way.
We have definitely come a long way. Thank God. Well, the next one's a little happier, I suppose. Receptions on wheels. The food trucks roll in. I like this article. So this is from the New York Times. And it talks about a new fun wedding trend. And I mean, I guess it's not new, but the way it's being done is new. So instead of like a lot of people have had food trucks at their weddings, and normally it's been for like, you know, small bites or like after the reception, after you've already eaten your dinner and everyone's drunk and you want to offer your guests something else at the end. Like I've seen food trucks used in that way, or for dessert and just dessert. I've seen food trucks for that. But now people are using food trucks for all of the meals of their wedding, for everyone. I think this is so cute. I love it. So I helped my brother-in-law plan and host my sister's 50th birthday party. And we had probably like, I mean, it wasn't, you know, it's not a wedding, but it was like 60 people. So pretty decent sized group. And we rented a food truck and we did all the meals in the food truck, and it was fast and it was efficient. The food was amazing. And everyone was like, that's the cutest idea. Like now I want to do that at my next party. But I think it's even cuter when it's done at weddings.
Right.
And so according to the article, food trucks can serve 100 meals in an hour if they're quick. So they recommend that a 100-person wedding should probably have at least 2 savory food trucks and then 1 dessert truck. And that would get all your guests fed in the same amount of time that they would have, it was a sit-down dinner at a hall or something. And let's be honest, not like all banquet halls run smoothly, and all catering companies don't have like a smooth transition for dinner. So sometimes it takes longer than that for people to get their food at weddings, like just being honest.
Right.
But the New York Times article highlighted 6 different food truck companies, and let's describe just a couple of them now. So the first ones that we're going to talk about is Cousins Maine Lobster. And just so you know, everyone listening, that it's not just in Maine, it's actually from all across the United States. They have 40 food trucks and 11 restaurants from New York to Texas. So that's pretty cool. Do they even have one in Maine?
They must.
No.
They must.
I know they must. But so the food truck is all about enjoying a lobster meal without the mess of cracking shells yourself, which is awesome. So for a wedding, couples can choose to serve everything from lobster rolls to lobster tater tots, which sound amazing, lobster tacos, which I love. Oh my God, so good. I love lobster tacos. Lobster grilled cheese sandwiches. By the way, everyone listening, I am still vegan, but I do love lobster. Okay, I just love lobster. Whatever.
That literally sounds so good.
I know. Everything, I know. I want everything. Oh my God. I love lobster rolls. Oh, summer, please come. You can't come quick enough. So the pricing for the food truck has a minimum of $3,000, starting at $40 a person, for 1 entree and 1 appetizer. They even have New England clam chowder, lobster bisque, or the lobster tater tots, like we said before. So that sounds so good. And they have, like I said before, 40 food trucks and 11 restaurants spread throughout the United States. So, yeah, I feel like It's an amazing idea. And according to one of the owners, they have been inundated with people asking for their food trucks at weddings. So if you want Cousin's Maine lobster food truck at your wedding, you better call them now.
I literally like, that's like a dream. That's a dream.
It really is. You should do that for your wedding. You know what else is a dream?
What?
Tipsy Cones ice cream. I'm sorry. This is amazing. So it's funny that this was listed. There's in Exeter, New Hampshire, which is the next town over from me, they're opening a tipsy like ice cream place that's going to serve like ice cream with alcohol and regular ice cream. And I was like, oh my God, I can bring, again, vegan, but they have vegan options. And I was like, that's so cool. I can bring the kids to get ice cream and I can have a cocktail while they're sitting there eating their ice cream, right? It's not from Tipsy Cones, but it's like a similar idea. Mm-hmm. But this is a food truck, obviously, because that's what we're talking about. And it's based in Stratford, Connecticut. They serve ice cream with and without alcohol out of the window of what just looks like your classic ice cream stand, which is so cute. And they have all the flavors handwritten on the truck. So I think it's a really cool idea for a wedding because you can sort of make it your own. I bet they could write little messages for you for the wedding. Some of the really popular flavors include drunken French toast. So it's maple ice cream with hazelnut liqueur and cinnamon cookie crumbles. Wow, that sounds so good. They also have lightly toasted almond, which is amaretto ice cream with toasted almond bits, and then mint chocolate nip, which is so cute. Such a cute name. Peppermint schnapps ice cream with chocolate chips, and they have a rosé sorbet with peaches and rosé wine, which, I mean, that's, wow, that sounds so good. And the truck can only serve, unfortunately, in the state of Connecticut. But if you're in Connecticut, this is amazing. You should do this. I would do it for just like a girlfriend gathering. I don't know if a party of 50 starts at $700 for the truck. And then without festivals and large parties due to COVID, the company had to push some events and is now a staple for weddings. I think that's great. Such a great idea. Really cute. I would do it. I'd pay $700 to have that. Like a party.
I just thought of a new concept. It's called a food truck party. So like you literally just invite all of these different food trucks to one really big party. And so now you can get like a little bit of everything. I know they said the wedding, 2 savory, 1 dessert, but like there's just so much.
I know. I would do, oh my God. One of my friends had a fresh baked cookie ice cream sandwich food truck at her wedding for dessert. It was so good. And then after the wedding, they had that for dessert. And then after the wedding, they had a pizza food truck and a taco food truck. So that you could like, if you're drunk and you're leaving, right? It was so good. So good. Such a good idea.
So smart. And like you put the things that you want at the end of the night, and then like the lobster maybe at the beginning of the night, because that could be your dinner. And then you get the drunk food at the end.
We literally just have a food truck festival for the wedding.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea at all. So a few other trucks that they included in the article was a shuckin' truck, which serves raw oysters, clam, shrimp, lobster rolls, and lobster grilled cheese. I feel like our girl Alexis from East Boston Oysters should do something like that with her company. Honestly. They should do a shuckin' truck. Seriously. And she'd probably make it like so whimsical and amazing. So if you're listening, Alexis, that's what you have to do next. And then a Silver Cloud Prosecco van, which, wow, that's amazing. And they offer self-serve champagne, rosé, and other wine and beer from the taps attached to the van. I don't know how I feel about self-serve and my friends. I feel like it would be like a really big mistake. Be like people.
They have the nozzle and you're like putting your mouth under it.
Wow. Yeah.
But that's probably not the best
idea. I know, you're right. I mean, it does sound amazing. I just have one parked in my backyard.
It's just for the family.
Just for us. No big deal.
We keep it here all the time.
And my husband only drinks beer. So really it's just for me. And then there was also the Gorilla Cheese NYC that serves both simple and fancy grilled cheese sandwiches, tater tots, and tomato soup, which seems really similar to the Roxy grilled cheese truck. That's, the Boston-based one, which is also amazing. So lots of great ideas there. And if you guys are planning weddings or getting married soon, I think the food truck is the way to go.
Yeah, and you literally can't go wrong with any of the ones you talked about. And I'm sure there's so many others out there too.
Oh my God. The one that we had for my sister's party was so cool. It was this Korean family and they did Korean sticky rice. It's like really sticky and they made like sandwich bread out of it. And then there was like pulled pork in the middle, or like they had tofu, and they had like 4 different options of what you put in the middle, and you literally eat it like a sandwich. But it was like sticky rice and like this like ooey gooey like deliciousness, and then oh my god, it was so good. I forget what they're called, but
love food.
I love food and food trucks so much. Why are food trucks so amazing?
It just like elevates the experience and like takes it to the next level of creativity and like, I don't know.
I agree. I think in another life I'm going to pair up with a chef and open a food truck.
Okay. You still have time for that.
I know, but I don't know any chefs. Anyone in the Portsmouth area of New Hampshire is looking to start a food truck and they're a chef. John, I shouldn't say that because John will be like, I'll start a food truck. And then I actually have to run a food truck.
Then you have another job.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't need.
Okay. So moving on to the next article, which is a BizBass article. And I thought this was super cool. I don't know if you've read about this before, Kate, or any of our listeners, but the article was called Get a Sneak Peek at This New Event Concept from Some Industry Bigwigs. So this next article is kind of like an example of how that slow down mentality from being locked at home can often lead to some creativity. And especially has to do with the hospitality industry. I know it happened across all industries as people were stuck at home, but it's this new catering concept called Party by Numbers that aims to basically simplify everyday entertaining for the home party planner with this whole one-stop shop concept situation. So the founders are individuals from the creative agency called The Gathery, and then the event catering company called Pinch Food Design, which are both based out of New York City. So the idea here is that during the pandemic, families and friends were stuck at home looking to piece together some sort of party with their pod, which we used to call, of people that you lived with or friends, whoever you were quarantining with. And that often took a lot of work when you're doing it solo, now with the help of an event planner. And it also included a lot of phone calls and stopping at different stores for alcohol, food, decor, wine, everything like that. So the founders of Party by Numbers came up with this idea for self-planned events. So I think this would kind of be a competitor to other catering services out there. So how it works is the party host starts by answering 4 questions on the Party by Numbers website that has to do with the guest count, cuisine style, theme of the party, like birthday, so what kind of celebration, and then the date. And then all of the necessary items for the event, like food, drinks, tableware, glassware, decor, everything will arrive the day of in a big, like multi-tiered cart with various like drawers and components in it. Each compartment then corresponds to a specific step of the planning process that the host then follows to set up for the event in about 30 minutes. And
that's crazy.
We'll link this article because you have to watch the video that explains this more in depth as well. But the compartments include, it's not just like the basics, it's like really customized. The compartments include things like candles for the ambience was in like drawer number 1. So that's like the first thing you take out. A speaker with its own curated playlist, napkins, dishware, silverware that's already in presentation caddies, glassware for drinks, a series of risers that they call the stage where the food is going to sit. There's even like food warmers to help keep the food heated. There's other creative presentation tools for small bites and appetizer, custom lighting. They literally have like lamps and different lighting situations in this big cart. Party decor pack. So if it's a birthday, they'll do like birthday things. If it's something else, whatever applies. Batch cocktails with all the necessary tools, an ice in like the tray, bottles of wine, flowers, and of course, all of the food and dessert. The food it's ready to heat food items that are already in presentation ready trays. And then the dessert, like I just said. And then it's this huge giant cart that comes with everything. You literally pull the drawers and it's just,
that's amazing.
More things appear. It is so cool and it's so pretty. At the end of the event, someone from the company Party by Numbers will pick up the cart and like all the extra things. But the marketing done by the Gathery agency, who's part of the duo in founding this, was so incredible. And like watching that video really just further shows how creative this concept is. And also like when they were going over what comes in all the different compartments, they were explaining the different partners that they work with. So all the different, like the napkins, the dishware come from all these different places that they work with. And I just thought this was the coolest thing ever.
It is so cool.
You have to watch the video after, but it's literally, it's so cool. They offer at the moment 4 different party looks with different cuisines. And there's definitely deep thought into what goes into each like component to make it feel exactly like that theme. The concept is currently designed for gatherings in groups of 8 to 96, so definitely varies. And then the experience starts at $110 per person, and that includes everything that I mentioned, which is also like the batch cocktails, wine. This could be set up for at your home or at a venue, so maybe this could become like a third-party catering situation that venues would use.
Such a great idea.
And they're currently available in New York City, expected to set into the Hamptons and Westchester this summer, and then grow nationally by the end of 2021.
That's such a great idea. I wonder if in different markets the price will be different, like it will fluctuate. Right. You know what I mean? Because obviously things are less expensive in other areas besides New York. But that's, I mean, I don't know. That's amazing. And it's really not that expensive when you think about like what it costs to host just like any type of a party. Like if you're doing everything on your own, it's expensive. I think we just had Colby's like our family over for Colby's 6th birthday. Yeah. And it was like 15 people. And I think I spent $1,000 on cause I didn't want to cook everything. So it's catering. And then like I made sure I had enough alcohol in case like beer, wine, and then like one drink type of drink because it's, mostly adults or all adults. And then like decorations and like, for his little cousins, I got like party bags. Like it was just, it was all said and done. It was probably $800 to $1,000, which is crazy for one Sunday, 4 hours, 6-year-old birthday party. Yeah. And I didn't even overdo it, So
and like all the trips that you had to make to get.
Yeah, it was a pain in the butt.
Even when it comes down, like I was assuming it would be just the basics, like the dishware, the glassware, the food, the napkins, but then down to like they give a speaker with like a curated playlist that has to do with that theme, like the mood lighting, the candles, all the time. Time is money, right? All the time you would have spent on those things. Right. And if it's at your home, like maybe you just don't have a lot of those things at your home that would fit exactly what you're going for. But I don't know. I thought this is like, they're really onto something here, and
such a cool idea.
Definitely something that I would love to have at my next party.
It's a great idea. I got to watch that video because I really want to see that big cart.
Oh yeah, you should. And it's classy too. It's not like ugly. It's like chic. Everything looks nice, and you could even use like the top of the cart for serving stuff on it too. So
I was gonna say, because that would be the only thing, right? Because like if you're in like a small New York City apartment, well, although if you're in all New York City apartments are pretty small, but
the top,
what do you do with it?
Right. The top looked like it could be like a bar cart kind of situation. Like cool. You could have the glasses on the top, and people could be serving themselves however you're doing it. But
love it. Yeah. I love it. What a great idea.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm going to look that up after. Yeah, definitely add the link to the episode because I feel like other people are going to want to check that out. Yeah. Well, so the next article isn't as happy. But so basically this is from another article from Eater. And it was named Restaurant Industry Labor Shortage. And basically they're saying that restaurant workers are combing through job listings in restaurants and venues, but they're not actually acting on those listings. And it's an issue that's happening across the hospitality industry, and maybe it's happening to some of our listeners. And I have heard from friends that work in restaurants that it is an issue right now. I actually watched the news this morning. They were talking about how this has become an issue like local to me. So I'm sure if it's happening here in New Hampshire, it's happening everywhere in larger markets. And so, as restaurants are reopening across the country to greater capacities, and basically it's just that owners are struggling to find the staff to meet the reopening demands. It's a huge problem for restaurants who do want to reopen, who have been through so much already. And it's sort of like the opposite kind of issue that we were having at the start of the pandemic. So like a year ago, this is a completely opposite issue than what we were having then. And that's when restaurants were doing whatever they could to keep their businesses open and to keep their employees paid. And then most of them had to resort to laying them off. And that's basically where the issue has come from. A lot of these people were laid off. They had to find other jobs. And now maybe they don't want to go back to the restaurant industry, or they're happy in those other jobs, or they've moved. A lot of people, people buying and selling houses during the pandemic it's crazy, the housing market. So I feel like a lot of people have moved out of bigger cities too. And I think that's where a lot of these issues are happening. So, that could have something to do with it, but it's basically according to the article, at least, many workers do not feel safe returning to work right now because the pandemic is still ongoing. And they don't want to fight with diners inside the restaurant over safety guidelines, which I can totally understand. We've all run into an uncomfortable situation in a restaurant or store where someone doesn't want to wear their mask when they're supposed to, or whatever. I won't get into that.
I was gonna say we've all seen a Karen out there. We've
all seen Karens out there. We've seen them in person, online, on the news. They're everywhere. But it's just they're having like this huge downturn in people who want to work in restaurants, who want to come back to the restaurant industry. And it actually shows that people are looking at the jobs, and they've gotten this information from culinary agents. So you can see in the search engine data from the hospitality search engine that people are looking, they're saving the jobs, they're clicking on them, but they aren't taking action as quickly as they did in the past or at all. So that's where the issue lies. So it's like they're interested, but then I think maybe they see other jobs that are in the hospitality industry and they're like, you know what, I think I feel better taking this job instead of that one. So Alice Chang, is that her name? Chang? Yeah. CEO of Culinary Agents is quoted in the article as saying she is confident that workers will return to the hospitality industry that so many know and love, but not right away. And that people will come back in waves and on their own time frame. So that's interesting to me. I feel like maybe that is true down the line. People are going to come back. And, I guess it is just a matter of time. It just stinks right now because things are on the up for restaurants right now. And then they have to deal with this issue.
Right.
And then there is another perspective of competition between restaurants who have been open throughout the pandemic, trying to get their staff back, and other big restaurant groups who have had started to open a brand new concept. And then that was delayed because of COVID. So both groups are looking in a similar pool for workers at the same exact time, which is something this has never happened before in history, where, restaurants have been closed or, they were open, but at less capacity with a smaller staff. And now it's all coming to a head and everyone needs workers and there just aren't enough out there. And so some restaurants are trying to offer new incentives to get competitive to others looking to hire. And they're reevaluating their benefit packages to include things like flexible scheduling, childcare, et cetera, which is something that you and I talked about in a podcast before the pandemic about offering childcare in the hospitality industry. So maybe that's something great that could come out of this competition, I think.
True.
And also restaurants are offering retention bonuses, giving existing employees bonuses for bringing on a friend and other things like that, which are all great. I've also heard of restaurants now offering full healthcare, which is something that never, unless you were a manager or an upper level, that doesn't exist. As a bartender, I was never offered health insurance. And if I was offered it, it was so expensive. I was like, I don't even make that in tips in a year. Can't pay for that. It was crazy. So, so these are good things that are, coming out of that. And this is also something that we heard from panelists on the recent Eater panel on reopening. And one of the restaurant owners was saying how he did everything he could to keep his specific cooks during the past year because finding new cooks would be a challenge come right now. So more training, learning the menu, et cetera, is all something that had to be thought about when deciding between keeping staff or starting fresh once the restaurants could reopen, which is interesting to hear from their side, and especially with chefs and stuff. I think when we think hospitality workers, we immediately think of servers, bartenders, hosts, managers. But of course the restaurants wouldn't run without kitchen staff and chefs and all those good things. So even dishwashers, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy to find people who will do that work. The pay usually isn't that fantastic. It's not the best job ever. So I think this is a good opportunity, I must say, for kids in high school or college students who need, money. Sometimes it's difficult, especially when the restaurant industry was at before the pandemic, when there was a saturation of restaurants on the market, definitely. So a lot of places were closing, but there wasn't a ton of jobs available because People have been there for so long. We're continuing to work them. We have like the hospitality lifers, and that they, they want to be a bartender for the rest of their lives, which more power to you. I got really tired even when I hit like 35. I give them a lot of credit. But yeah, I think that we went from a state of like those people who really wanted to get into the hospitality industry or to get into it to make more money now couldn't get jobs because they didn't have the experience. And now I think is a great time for you to get, if you really want to get into the industry and you haven't been able to, now's the time for sure.
Yeah. That's such an interesting way to look at it. Cause I feel like my sister is like in college and she has friends and they're all talking about what they're going to do for summer jobs. And like come a year ago, no one would have been like, I'm going to apply for a restaurant job or become a bartender because there was no jobs because no one was hiring. And now it's the perfect time for those kind of people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't like, I think if I hadn't gotten into working in restaurants when I was like, 15, I don't know if I would have gotten hired in all those jobs I had in college, in high school and college, and then in grad school. Like I think, and after obviously too, but I think that because I had the experience from like a really young age, the people were more willing to be like, well, at least you know how to work in a restaurant. We can train you to do the rest, Right. But it's tough. The restaurant industry, as we've talked about a million times, there's a certain kind of person who can do it. And there are and it's a definitely specific type of person that thrives in that world. Right. So I think that's why in the past it's been, they've been like managers hiring people have been less apt to be like, sure, I'll give you a chance because they're looking for like that specific person, so I don't know. I think that anyone can do the job if they really want to. So I feel like now is a great time to jump right in there.
Right.
Hopefully bars will be reopening too, so.
Yeah. Well, okay. Leading into the last point that we're going to talk about right now was just a quick one about Boston specifically, but this article was posted like today or yesterday. Boston's full economic reopening set for August 22nd. So this is Boston, but also could be other places, but they were talking about, which I found this morning out. I didn't realize that like just they're really looking at different like bars and everything to reopen, kind of like more to full normal life, it feels like. So Boston bars, beer gardens, breweries, wineries, distilleries can open on June 19th for seated service only while keeping the 90-minute table limit. Dance floors aren't allowed yet. 10 people can be seated at a table, which is more than what it has been. It's been 6. And then on August 22nd, dance clubs, nightclubs can reopen.
So like bars and stuff can reopen, you think, more normally in August?
That's what I'm thinking. If you can open a dance club. Okay, this is why I had to talk about it because I was like, my roommate told me and I was like, wait, so you're saying that life could be normal? And like
go to a bar and sit down and not.
Yeah, because sit down. I mean, if you're opening a dance club on August 22nd, how could it not be? Like, what do you do at a dance club? You dance, you mingle, you get close to people. Like, I feel like we're on the right track. I mean, if someone, we are. We're probably going to get more information on the specifics as we get closer to it, but it definitely feels like this is on the path to get back to bumping with other vaccinated men in a bar in Boston.
Men specifically.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for you. I'm excited that I can like go to a bar and just sit down like a normal person and and where I live, you can like they'll seat you at the bar. Like you don't really get a choice. It's like, oh, the bar's available. We'll seat you there. I'm like, great, that's amazing. Like, yes, I want to sit at the bar, but you can't just walk into a bar and wait for a seat. And, that will be pretty amazing. And like those other things too, like breweries, wine, like beer gardens. Oh my God. I would love to go to a beer garden right now. I don't think I even realized how much I missed like beer gardens and things like that.
I just, I'm so excited.
I don't blame you.
Go.
August, let's hope it's a really warm early fall.
I know. Oh, seriously. No, but that's just like such great news for like just the restaurants and all the places that we were mentioning too. And then all the people my age and your age and everyone in between.
And everyone. Yeah. I mean, I think we don't talk about these venues that much on a podcast because it's, Tripleseat doesn't really deal with dance clubs, nightclubs, unless they offer food or do private events in any capacity. And a lot of them don't. But like, I feel like nightclubs have really taken the brunt of the pandemic because I mean, obviously restaurants and the hospitality industry as a whole has, but like you can't can't do anything in a nightclub if you can't dance and stand at a bar. So,
Exactly.
They can't do it. Like, they just can't open and all that. Oh my God. Like, just so much. That's just crazy. It's going to smell all musty in those places when they reopen them again.
There's going to be dust coming out of everywhere. Just every corner. Oh my God.
That's crazy. That's so, like, really good news.
Hopefully other cities are also headed in the right direction. I didn't look at every reopening plan across.
Yeah. I mean, we know, like, we both know that other places already have. I mean, Florida's pretty much like balls to the wall. Cares pandemic who?
Yeah, it's true.
Woo! Yeah.
But yeah, good things are to come. 2020 is a much better year than 2020. And just gonna
did you say 2020 is much better year than 2020?
No, 2021. Did I? 2021 is a much better year than 2020 is, and we can't wait to see all of the amazing things that will continue to come.
Thank God. Yeah, we can finally start talking about COVID.
I know. I was actually going to say this episode felt more like hospitality related. Yeah, talking about food trucks and about that catering service, and I don't know, not as everything has to be about COVID all the time.
I agree. And like to our listeners, like if you guys have any ideas of what we can talk about, let us know, because the thing is, like, we don't want, like, every week we're like, what should we talk about this week? And it's like, we don't want to, we're sick of talking about COVID, right? But it is still happening. So it's like, you sort of have to like weave it in a little bit, but it's just, you know, I want to be talking about like large scale events again, and you know, like silly trends in the hospitality industry, and and having guests on that just talk about like how amazing they're doing, how awesome everything is.
That's why we started the podcast, because we want to talk about that stuff, not the pandemic to hit and we talk about COVID for a year.
I know. It's crazy. I just want to go back to like how to market your restaurant for holiday parties. Yay! Or like, summer specials that anyone can offer.
2022 trends.
Yeah. We'll get there. One step at a time, one episode at a time.
Yeah. Well, stay with us until then. And
yes, please do.
Thank you for listening.
And we'll see you all next week.